Yeah, I've got a lot of rare stuff. I'm not really photogenic, eh?
All right, so I've been coming here to Cleaver Firearms for around 13, 14 years, I believe. And the very first time that I came here, I saw Tony's Colt room, which was the largest collection in the world, I believe. And it's much larger now, so there's a huge amount of history in the room here. So Tony collects Colt firearms, anything pre-1900s. Which one is some of your favorites in here?
As far as guns, they're all my favourites. Even the relics that have been dug up, I love them all. I've got to be at least 80% sure these guns came into this country during our colonial period. Confirm, right, that they have an Australian history. Otherwise I sell them. And when I look around in here, I think these guns forged this nation, and I'm happy with them.
Right.
Colts were the most commonly used revolver in this country, back in our colonial times.
So it's kind of like asking which of your children is your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some cool ones to me that stand out for me is the movie Ned Kelly. I did see it.
Ned Kelly was a wild young bush ranger. Out of Victoria he rode with his brother Dan.
And I believe that rifle you have below it is the rifle that was used in the movie, is that correct?
That's exactly right. It's the gun that the movie owner hired for that movie. And that's the one that Heath Ledger's holding over his shoulder in that movie poster. And that gun is the same caliber and virtually the same dimensions as the gun that Ned Kelly was using when he got caught at Glenrowan. His barrel was a little bit shorter than that, but the Kellys cut their barrels down so that they wouldn't overbalance when they were in an armed conflict and they could shoot them with one hand. They needed to do that because the body armor they wore.
Okay, so they were meant to shoot one-handed. That is very interesting. And I believe that you have the actual gun of Ned Kelly's sister as well, right? The pistol.
Correct. That's a pistol there, and it belonged to Grace Kelly, Ned Kelly's youngest sister. It's not a Colt, it's an Allen Pepperbox. And she was 15 when they hung her brother, and she was a fantastic horsewoman. The mounted police back in the day had a lot of trouble catching her and her sister Kate, if they could catch them. Yeah, that gun there belonged to Steve Hart out of the Kelly gang. That gun was apparently inside the Glenrowan Hotel shooting at the police. That gun there was issued to Beechworth Police Station, and that was the station in charge of the Kelly hunt, so it would have been chasing them more than likely.
So you also have some really cool ones in here, I think some Tiffany Colt.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Tiffany's over here. That gun there is all embellished by Tiffany Co. Jewelers in New York. That's a Tiffany grip, right? If you're walking along with that in a holster back in the day, you were displaying your affluence. Like wearing a Rolex watch back in the day because people knew you were wealthy.
So would a Tiffany Colt, would it always be a custom order?
Yeah, more than likely. I can't say 100%, but I believe it was a custom order.
They're really works of art, some of them too, eh?
Oh yeah.
Some of them are fairly simple, some of them people put a lot of effort into and a lot of work.
I've got two Colt Walkers there that are very rare. Colt produced 1,100 of those guns of that model, and there's approximately 200, I think, left in the world today that they've found. We're very, very fortunate to have two because they're extremely rare. Now, Colt had a factory in London that he opened in 1853 and closed in 1857. He only opened it apparently so that he could get the English government contracts. The English would only buy UK-made product. Yeah, he sold them guns for the Crimean War, and then in 1857 he closed it, and he could see the Civil War coming, so he moved a lot of his machinery back to the US and sold a bit to the English. All these guns here are 1851 Navies. Colt produced around 215,000 of that model. We've got quite a few different variations with different grips and stuff on them. There's a lot of history in some of them. This gun here was found many years ago up in the roof of the old original Barcaldine police station, and that's where the Australian Labor Party originated. And it's got EM scratched into the side of it. if it belonged to a shearer called Edward Murphy. From the research I've done, he went to jail for 3 years for conspiracy, while his brother went to jail for 15 years for arson. And they started the ALP, so make your own judgment. All these guns in this cabinet here were issued to Australian police, right? Mainly issued to Victorian and New South Wales police, because that's where the majority of the population was back in that era. This is called a cop and thug, right? Because of the embellishment on the grip, right? There's a police officer with a criminal there. The cop only made about 4,000 of those, I think, from memory. Scarce in America, but they're super rare in Australia. Just stuff that I've sort of been blessed with, being able to find and come across.
So most of these guns in here, you remember where you got it?
A lot of them I do, yeah. And I make notes on them, and some of the notes are on the back of the cards. And
right.
I've done research, right, on, as far as I can go, on all the Colts that came into Australia, way back into the 1800s that have ever been found. Those books there, right? Now, that's all the case Colts we've come up with. All the Colt London pockets. Colt revolvers, London manufacturer, Colt conversions, 1860 armies and dragoons. It was a big research thing, and I was glad that I did it, because I can go back and if I get a new Colt and I can refer to that and see how long it's been here. Maybe there might be a note in one of the books that we researched to do it. So, and it was all virtually done manually. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you've put a lot of hours into this.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But you know, when it's a hobby and you love doing it, then.
Oh yeah. I like odd stuff, rare stuff and old stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's a fascinating collection. So how long has it taken you to collect everything that you have here?
Oh, over 40 years. I've always collected different things in my life, and right from when I was, you know, a young fella, like in my early teens, I used to collect nuts and bolts, and over the years I've amassed, I don't know, 20 or so, and I thought, well, I'll sell the American ones and just concentrate on Aussie ones. Just thought I'll do it for Australia. And when I die, my boys are going to keep the collection going, and my grandsons after that. So at the end of the day, you know, my wife and I have left something, you know, that Australia can appreciate forever. Because, as I said before, these guns forged this nation, and all of us are standing here today because of it, you know. Over here we go to Colt Navies again, right? When Colt first developed that model, he made them with a square back trigger guard. You'll notice how the rear of the trigger guard comes down vertical rather than a round trigger guard like these ones over here. Now, square backs are fairly rare, right? And they're really rare in this country. I've got 21 of them in that cabinet, and other collectors are dirty at me because I can't get one, right? But they just seem to keep turning up. That gun there is Colt Navy serial number 8. So it's the 8th one off the production line. And I've got the whole history on it. That gun was used to shoot a bushranger back in the 1850s. It was owned by a Victorian gold miner. And I've had some pretty good offers for that, but it's not going anywhere.
And you got some super interesting finds here that probably, you know, have been dug up at some point somewhere.
All these guns here are relics, well, I call them relics. That one there was under a post in a set of cattle yards up in central Queensland. Now, the termites got the post, and when they pulled it out, they found that. Why it was down there, we'll never know. But that one was found grown in the fork of a tree up in the Cape. The tree had actually grown around the gun. They're the original grips on that gun. That one came out of a creek bank between Ballarat and Bendigo. Somebody has manufactured synthetic grips for it and also put a fake loading lever on it. But this is the way I bought it. They've done it so that you know that they are fake, and they've done a good job of it. But when you look at the condition of that gun with a blown up muzzle, there's no rounds in the cylinder at all, and it's stuck on half cock, right? That poor fella's been trying to load it when he dropped it. But
huge amount of history here in this room.
Oh, a huge amount, eh? It's just incredible. That's an old New South Wales police gun that was dug up in a creek bed. Aye, and most of these have been bead blasted to get the action working properly. But yeah, I love all that stuff. Aye.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating for sure, especially when you think back that a couple hundred years ago, it was being actively used.
Yep.
That's just different parts of this country, whether it is self-protection or law enforcement. It's pretty cool. Any other special revolving rifles that you have that?
Well, that revolving rifle in the middle up the top there with a large trigger guard on it. Apparently the British government ordered 3 of those for the Antarctic expedition so the explorers could shoot seals to feed the sled dogs. Now, because weight was at a premium on the dog sled, they opted for the shorter barrel. And it's got the big trigger guard, of course, for the gloves. That's the only one that I'm aware of that survived out of the 3. But I've sort of got it in the back of my head that when all the ice melts, I might slip down there and see if I can find the other 2. And that's a Colt Patterson ring lever rifle up there, right? And you pull the front ring down and it actuates the lever inside that turns the cylinder and cocks the internal hammer. That's the only one of those in this country, I believe. Aye. Those muskets up there are Colt Civil War muskets. They're not rare in the US, but in Australia they are, and I've been fortunate enough to pick up 2 of them, both from different auctions at different times in my life. But yeah, I always wanted one and could never find one. But yeah, things come to pass.
So the oldest one you have, that is the one you showed earlier with the first serial number, or the serial number?
Oh, in the Navies, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, right. The oldest ones we got are the 1837 Colt Pattersons over there.
1837, gotcha. So we're getting close to 200 years old on that one.
See, that book there is called Kings and Grass Castles, and basically it's about a pioneering family called the Duracks. Back in the 1800s, they overlanded 7,500 head of cattle from North Queensland to Western Australia to the Kimberleys. Now, I was flicking through another book here one day and I saw a photo of this Colt and I thought, that's a nice looking gun. And I read the story. It was the gun the Duracks took with them on that cattle drive. Now, it's got the serial number in there, and I thought, that sort of sounds familiar. And I went looking, and I had the gun. And I didn't know it. Hey, and that's the gun there. And it's a photocopy out of the book.
That was a good day for you.
I was walking around on my tiptoes all day after that. It's marvellous what turns up, you know. I'll show you a gun down here that I bought recently. Now, that's a Colt Bisley, made in 1896. And look at the condition of that gun.
Yeah, that is near new.
Oh yeah, it's 95%. And it's in brilliant condition. I couldn't believe it. And we're so lucky to get stuff like that. I paid a little money for it, but it's worth it. You just don't find stuff in that condition.
Yeah, at 130 years old, being nearly new, it's crazy. You figure it has been used at all?
Oh, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. See, I've got that gun there, got a little nickel lightning here that I reckon's never been shot, but maybe it has. You can't sort of say because you didn't own the thing back then, see? You can't be 100% sure of anything unless you were there.
And even then, we're not always completely sure.
No. I've got some nice condition guns, yeah. The Colt Single Action Army, right? In remarkable condition. Manufactured in 1874. It's still got faint inspector's stamps on the grips. Colt have no record of this gun because I've sent them over the serial number, and I don't know how it stayed in that condition and ended up in Australia. Who knows? There's the first 357 revolver that Colt made, right, in a single action. See the serial number? 357. That model is a Colt open top. It's the predecessor of a single action army. It's a nice gun. Now, I picked up that one about 3 months ago at an auction in Victoria with its original cylinder. I couldn't believe I found it, and I got it very, very cheap. The valuer at the auction obviously didn't know what it was. But anyway, I got it and it's in here now, and it's an old Australian gun and it'll be sitting here forever. We've got a Colt single action up here in .380 Ely. Now, Colt never made 4 guns in that calibre. That's the only one I know that's ever turned up in the world. That gun's been here since, in Brisbane, Australia, since 1892, because I got the factory letter on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got here 2 consecutive serial numbers, right? Which are very rare in single actions. I've got another set over here somewhere, those 2 down the bottom there, right? And I bought those 2 about 15 years apart, both in Queensland. I've got another 2 here, right, which are that one and that one. They've both got 2 special order features on them. They're exactly 30 serial numbers apart. They both came into Australia on the same boat, right? And they were fitted with special sights and 4.5 pound triggers. I've got a lot of rare stuff. You know, next model we go to is the 1860 Army. When they first developed this model, they came out with what we call a fluted cylinder, and then he changed to a round cylinder, probably because of the cost saving, right? But Colt was known to never throw anything away. Now all these guns are in serial number order, right? And you'll notice we've got round cylinders there, and then they found a fluted cylinder. So they put it in a gun, and that's up 61,000 serial number, right? And then we go through more round serial numbers, and then we got another one that they found, and that's up to 89,000. It was probably roll around behind a bench or something. Oh yeah, we'll make a gun out of this, in an army. But they were all made during the Civil War. All these are just ordinary conversions, with different histories on them, where they came from, different states and that.
And those 2 rows, I believe, were for ladies to have in their purse?
Yeah, no, back in the day, ladies in Australia had pockets in their dresses. I don't know about you guys over there. But, a squatter, like a farmer, would buy something like that for his wife for self-protection. Now, they're 41 calibre, big piece of lead, and for myself to you, it'll kill you, right? Over the water, it's only going to injure you because it loses velocity and energy very, very quickly. It's only a very short cartridge, but it's just self-protection. And if a lady had trouble with an animal or something while she's out the back, she'd pull it out of the pocket and dispose of the problem and just don't trip over the carcass, eh? I bought a collection this morning off that fellow died 2 years ago, I think his wife said, and she brought him in. I asked her what she wanted from him, and she nominated a figure, and I said, no, I won't pay you that for him, and I said, I'll give you $1,000 more. Hey, and she couldn't believe it, and she said, you will? She said, I'll take it. And I said, yeah, I said, they're worth more than what you're asking. So I gave an extra $1,000.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, you got to do the right thing by people, and you don't get anywhere in this life if you don't, I'm telling you.
I agree.
Because my wife and I started off with our hands,
Well, that's how you've been able to build a really successful gun shop here in Australia that way, right? And you've been a really good customer of MDT for a long time, and we very much value your business, but also the friendship that we've created over the years, Yeah, I love it. I love coming here every time that I'm back here. I like seeing that you're always adding to it. Yeah, there's incredible history in here.
We get a lot of children in here come in and have a look. There's a lot of kids interested in antiques. I think that all children should go through firearm training. You don't know what positions they're going to get into during their youth and teens, where they'll come across a gun somewhere, and they've got to know how to react, and they've got to know the safety aspects of a firearm. Without going political, people in power don't understand. They just think of guns as being a bad thing, and when they're not, back in the day, you had to have one. They were a tool.
They were a tool, yeah.
And it all depended on who you used them.
So the people that are in power, what would you love for them to understand?
Mainly the part that they had in history, right, in this country's history, right from the earliest times, right up until the First, Second World War, Vietnam, everywhere, right, and how these guns have protected this country and our livelihoods. And I'm biased because I own a gun shop, and apart from that, we've got to teach all our young people how to handle a gun, because you don't know what's in the future. Nobody does.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, if you're ever in Australia and you're in Queensland, specifically Margate, which is north of Brisbane, come by Cleaver Firearms and you can check out the Colt room. Tony is here often. And aside from the Colt room, tons of other stuff to see. So it's definitely a destination shop if you're into firearms. I love coming back here every time.
Oh, we love having you.
Oh, thank you.
It's hard to work out what you're saying sometimes because of the accent.
I do my best.